Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're diving into a story that is literally centuries old, but honestly, its lessons hit just as hard today as they did back then. We're looking at the timeless tale of the donkey and the jackal. And look, this isn't just some simple animal fable. It's an incredibly dramatic, almost cinematic journey through ego, foolishness, and what it actually means to be a true friend. Let's jump right into this explainer. Ego and pride can blind even the smartest mind. Wow. Just think about that for a second. That is the absolute core of our story today. Have you ever made a massive, embarrassing mistake simply because you were overconfident? Something you could have easily avoided if you just listened to someone? Well, our main character does exactly that. Let's see how this whole thing unfolds. Part 1, the donkey's pitiful state. Okay, picture this. Imagine a creature whose life is just endless pain, darkness, and struggle. The poor donkey's master was an incredibly cruel, miserly washerman. All day long, he forced this wretched animal to carry these back-breaking loads of heavy clothes. And at night, there was no shelter, no hay. He would just untie him into the pitch-black night with a totally heartless order, "Go find your own food." Try to visualize that poor, exhausted animal wandering alone in the dark, ribs clearly showing, just entirely broken down. It's a completely heartbreaking existence. Moving on to part 2, the jackal's plan. So, out of all that darkness, a glimmer of hope actually appears. One night, while he's wandering around starving, the sad donkey runs into a clever jackal. The jackal is totally shocked by the donkey's frail condition and asks what's going on. The donkey just pours out his whole miserable story. And that's when the jackal reveals a secret that is basically a lifeline. He tells him about this massive secret vegetable garden right nearby. He's whispering about endless rows of crisp cucumbers, fresh carrots, radishes, plump brinjals. The best part? The jackal knows a secret path to slip in completely unnoticed. He invites the donkey to come along, feast until he's stuffed, and finally get his strength back. And look at this contrast, because the physical transformation is massive. It's literally night and day. We go from a starving, weak donkey blindly searching for scraps to just a few weeks later being a completely different beast. Every single night they sneak in and feast. Now, he's got a full stomach, shiny fur, a muscular build, and a newfound arrogant strut. In the lap of all this stolen luxury, the donkey completely forgets the bitter pain of his past. Which brings us right into part 3, ego and foolishness. Now we hit the climax of the story. And it's so fascinating how a little physical comfort can completely warp someone's common sense, right? One evening, absolutely stuffed with delicious vegetables, the donkey suddenly feels utterly invincible. He's staring up at the moon, completely drunk on his own ego, and he declares, "I'm feeling so good tonight, I think I should sing." After a good meal, one simply must sing with joy. Think about the sheer absurdity of this. He is standing in the middle of a stolen garden where snapping a single twig could get them both killed, and he's so blinded by pride that he wants to bray at the top of his lungs. Naturally, the jackal just completely freaks out. He acts as the desperate voice of reason here. He's frantically whispering, "No, don't even think about it. We're thieves here. If the guards hear you, we'll be caught and beaten." He fully, deeply understands the brutal reality of the situation they are in. But here is what's truly shocking: the donkey's absolute, unbelievable arrogance. Instead of listening to the friend who literally saved him from starvation, he insults him. He actually scoffs at him and says, "You don't understand music, dear jackal. You're just a wild creature. What do you know about art? I am a born singer." He completely dismisses the cautious wisdom of the very guy who saved his life. So that leaves us with a huge question hanging in the air. Will the donkey listen to his friend, or is this absurd, foolish pride going to drag him right off a cliff? The tension right now is incredibly high. Well, the jackal is no fool. He sharply realizes you cannot use logic with someone who is completely blinded by their own ego. So, he formulates this highly clever, desperate exit strategy to save his own skin. First, he totally flatters the donkey, eagerly agreeing that yes, he is a great singer. Then he offers to go outside the garden to fetch a beautiful flower garland, fit for such a magnificent artist. And finally, he buys himself precious time by telling the donkey to wait exactly 10 minutes before starting his grand performance. It's a brilliant survival tactic. And that leads to part 4, the bitter consequence. This whole thing goes south incredibly fast. The disaster unfolds with terrifying speed. At 0 minutes, the foolish donkey closes his eyes and just starts braying loudly into the quiet night. Barely a minute in, that terrible noise jolts the garden guards completely awake. By minute 2, they are sprinting fiercely toward the sound, gripping these massive, heavy sticks. And within 5 short minutes, the donkey is brutally beaten until he collapses half dead on the dirt. It is a violently fast, incredibly painful result of ignoring wise advice. Finally, part 5, true friendship and the lesson. As the dust settles, the jackal is watching safely from a distance, just shaking his head. And he realizes some really profound truths here. Foolish are those who ignore their true friends. Look, when you reject good counsel, life has a really nasty habit of teaching you that same lesson through immense pain. The donkey mistook the jackal's desperate warning for a personal attack on his art. But remember this, not every warning is criticism. Sometimes a harsh warning is simply love and protection in disguise.
And I absolutely love this definition of wisdom. True wisdom lies not in showing off your voice, but in hearing the silence of experience. The donkey had physical strength. He had a really loud voice, but he had absolutely no experience. The jackal had life experience, which the donkey completely drowned out with his own arrogance. Real knowledge isn't just knowing what you're capable of doing, it's knowing exactly when you should just keep quiet.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a thought to really reflect on today. Look at your own life right now. Who is the true friend you might be ignoring? Are you dismissing someone's genuine warning just because your ego is telling you they're criticizing you? Take a moment to think about that. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey, and I'll catch you in the next one.